A lot of people expect leaders to be the ones making decisions about absolutely everything. But a good leader only makes decisions about what? The things that actually matter.
I don't know how to manage my team. It's too much headache on me. I don't have the right systems.
Because the problem is when people don't understand their strengths, and when people don't understand their weaknesses, what happens? Then they don't know where they're missing. They don't know why things aren't working. As a peak performer, you have to learn to play towards your strengths and play towards your what? Your weaknesses. I'm constantly rubbing heads with my partner. Constantly rubbing heads. Right? And I broke it down. I goes, okay, why? And essentially, it's just two visionaries. And the visions are different. You don't need two visionaries. You need a visionary and an operator.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Central and Co. But not Co as in Co, but Co as in COO.
It's season 2 and we still haven't switched that up. Welcome to season 2, guys, man. I'm pleased to have you guys here. This is going to be a fun one, inshallah, I think. I'm excited, man. We're targeting the guys we care about, the movers and shakers, as I like to call them.
Care about all of them.
We care about everybody, but the guys we really care about, the movers and shakers, 6, 7, and 8 figure entrepreneurs, alhamdulillah. Yeah, man, chat to me. Sheikh Mohammed, what are we doing today, man?
Well, as anyone that knows what we do within these podcasts, we help entrepreneurs unlock peak performance. And there's many different aspects that come together. And as much as we'd love to talk about performance and personal performance, an aspect of that as well is yourself as a leader, right? How your company is structured. Because if the leadership structure within your company, within your business, within whatever it is that you're doing, isn't properly structured, then everything else will also crumble. So it is an important component to it. So today we'll be talking about the difference between a visionary and an operator. So we'll start off with, what is the leadership lie?
The leadership lie, man. First of all, what you need to understand is leadership is something that is greatly misunderstood, right? What does it mean to be a leader? I like to break down definitions first. A leader is somebody who, by definition, leads, right? Who people follow behind, right? A leader is the one who makes the key decisions, right? He's the head. If you were to imagine the body, the leader is the what? He's the head of the body, right? Now, a lot of us as leaders, we are led to thinking we need to do everything ourselves, right? We need to take care of everything ourselves. Why? Because we are the leaders. But leadership isn't about controlling every single decision or controlling every single detail. That's actually not what leadership is about at all. Rather, it's about actually being the one who allows the vision, who creates that vision and allows everything to stay intact with that vision and empowers other people through that vision, right? So if you can imagine, this vision is like a filter. Everything that comes through, the filter, must be aligned with that vision. It's the leader's job to create that strong filter. That everything that they do, they are leading towards what? They are going towards the direction of what? Of that empowering vision.
Okay, makes sense.
If you are a 6, 7, or 8 figure entrepreneur who wants to learn how to scale or add an extra zero to their company using the laws of performance, then click the link in the description. For a long time, most entrepreneurs have been sold the dreams of learning more technicals, learning more sales, more marketing, and that's never ever brought us to where we want it to be. And that is because you do not rise to the level of your technicals, you fall to your level of performance. If you're able to perform at the highest level, you can make a ridiculous amount of money for your company. Your technical skills are able to be reflected. So if you want to learn the laws of performance, then click the link in the description and book a call with myself.
And a part of that is having people on your team or people by your side that fuel that vision. First question then for you is it necessary that they have the same vision as you?
This has been one that's, it's actually funny. I don't know if you realized, but this is exactly what we shot the Vision podcast. Oh, full circle moment, man. But anyway, is it necessary for them to have the exact same vision as you? I think no. Not the exact same vision, but it must align. The more aligns, the better, of course. But to a certain degree, it must align. Like for me, I just find it so difficult to hire anyone in my company that doesn't understand the vision of us, like the fact that we're going to stand in front of Allah, doesn't accept Allah as Allah, right? And the Prophet ﷺ is the messenger, because I can't operate with him. Islam it's a way of life. Right? I hate when people describe Islam as a religion, because Islam is not just a religion. It's a way of life. So it's difficult for me to, work with somebody that doesn't understand my way of life.
It's a framework of thinking as well.
100%.
So if you don't have that kind of same way of looking at things, the same lens.
Of course, it doesn't make sense, right? So to a certain degree, yes. In terms of your vision, what you care about building, they should care as well, right? Now, like I said, their visions are going to be slightly different, but it's like, for example, let's say me and you both love this cup, right? We both want this cup. I want this cup for the color. You want this cup for the shape. It's two different things, but it still brings us to the same cup. Does that make sense?
Two different angles.
Exactly, two different angles. You care about the shape. I'm just gonna hold it up so you guys can see. He cares about the shape. I care about the color. I'm just after the color. Why? Because it's quite similar to my thobe. He's after the cup. I'm not gonna mention why. He's after the shape because of another reason, right? But the point is that's what you care about. That's the aspect that's important to you.
Which is important because at the same time, because we're all trying to get to the same objective, you have a specific lens that you're looking through, and I have another lens which contributes to that.
And I don't need to sell the color to you. What's more important that I sell the
thing that
shape to you. That's what matters to you. And that's what a leader should be able to do. He should be able to understand what is the things that actually motivate, right? The person he's trying to motivate. What is the thing that drags him to peak performance? What's his vision? What's his end goal? The first thing I do with every employee, all right, or everyone I even think of possibly hiring, is I ask them what their goal is, what is their vision. By understanding their vision, I understand how to get them to do the things that they want to do.
Color manipulation, if you like.
Whatever you want. Game is the game.
I think it's very important because when we've started to work with people, I'm like, I give a task to an employee or someone that we're working with. I'm like, can you just use your head a little bit? It's like, I just gave you this task. Then for us, it's like, no, it's not their fault. It's your fault for not recognizing that these are just doers. They're just people that just do what you give them. But that's kind of what we did then now within the company. It's like, okay, some of these employees that we're working with, these are people that have brains and they have to have brains. And a part of...
No, we're not saying that there's people who don't have brains, by the way. We're saying like in terms of the vision. They have vision. These guys care, right? They have the wisdom. They have like the smarts. They're well versed in terms of what they do. And they have the ability to think outside the box and make key decisions for themselves.
Exactly. Sorry, I didn't mean it in that way, right? And that's something which is important for us to realize because some people don't need to necessarily have that ability. Like the person that makes automations maybe or the appointment set, they don't need to have very, very, very vast. Now, is it better for them? It is. But for someone that, for example, manages the marketing, it's going to be entropy upon me if he doesn't have that kind of mindset where he's like, oh, he understands the vision, he knows what we're trying to build. He can think outside of the box, right?
Yeah, so that'd be super entropic.
No.
Like when you look at it, for example, right? It's like me saying like whoever cleans my apartment has to have the same vision as me. Like they're just there to clean the apartment, right? Now their role is key. It's important. They need to understand what they're doing, the importance of the apartment that's being cleaned, but it's not necessary that they have the exact same vision as me. The point is you have to be able to separate different categories in your company to people who are super important in terms of understanding your vision, in terms of having that mindset. And some people are just not like that. By nature, some people are just not big on visionaries and stuff. They just get things done. They operate quite well, but they're not visionaries.
So this is important because this, I think, is a big stress. Like every single entrepreneur that I've spoken to that manages a team, they always tell me the same problem. And the same problem is what? I don't know how to manage my team. It's too much headache on me. I don't have the right systems. But again, a very, very big part of that is the who, is the kind of the people that you hire, the people that you work around you, because they are pushing leverage. And a form of leverage is what? It's people. So if you don't know how to get the highest leverage people, again, we're all about leverage. So you have to know how to utilize the assets that you already have.
Look, you have to understand why entrepreneurs have such a big struggle over this stuff. Like, we want to control everything, right? Because we understand cause and effect relationships. So if I control enough of these inputs, I can control and affect the output accordingly, right? But long term, that can't work, right? You can't split yourself in 10 different parts, right? At the end of the day. So a lot of people expect, leaders to be the ones making decisions about absolutely everything. But a good leader only makes decisions about what? The things that actually matter. The the things that drive big growth, all right? Even there's a philosophy, alhamdulillah, we adopted into the company a long time ago where it's like, it's split between two things because we were seeing like a lot of stress on our side, right? Everyone's coming to us over every decision. It's like, look, there's two kinds of decisions. Let's divide them. There's things that are big decisions that we can't come back from. And there's things that we could just be like, yeah, that didn't work. Let's just go back to normal. If it's a type 2 decision, make the decision, don't disturb me, all right? If it's a type 1, bring it up with me, I'll review it. So these things are super, super important as well. And what's more important is being able to train a team who can make those decisions anyway, without you, right? Which alhamdulillah is something that does take time, but when you achieve it, it's very high leverage, right? Because a lot of things that, like, it just goes back to cognitive load. We only have a certain amount, and people are laughing at me, by the way, because I don't choose what I eat, like, on a daily basis, and, you know, they were making fun of me in the comments and calling me extra. I don't expect you to understand, right? The people who didn't understand, quite obviously, they don't have 6, 7, or I doubt they have any business whatsoever, to be honest with you. The people who are clowning me in the comments, like, that's absolutely fine, by the way. I don't blame you, you know? It's like a woman trying to explain, like, what she goes through during childbirth. Of course, I'm never going to understand. I'm not in her position. I'm a male, right? I don't expect you guys to understand some of the things that we're talking about if you're not a 6, 7, or 8-figure entrepreneur. That video wasn't targeted for you. An average person, yeah, you pick whatever you want, right? you scroll through the menu 10, 15, 20 times if you want. I'm sure there's little on your mind to worry about. But as a company owner who runs, you know, a company that, you know, controls over 100 individuals, right? Employs over 100 individuals and revenues multiple 7 figures per year, you understand why you need to narrow down the decisions you make daily as much as possible. And if you want to laugh at me a little bit more, I advise you to go look at some of the experts in the world, right? Some of the leading Jeff Bezos, right? The leading entrepreneurs, and see how they cut down as much decisions they have to make as possible in their daily lives too, right? It's called living by design. It's designing the life you actually want to live, rather than, like, you know, waking up every day and choosing different things, right? I'll give you this for example. You don't put diesel in a petrol car, right? So by understanding yourself, you understand what helps you. It's like, to break it down, it's all about what you're optimizing for. People ask me like questions and sometimes I can't answer them because it depends what you're optimizing for. Is the road of peak performance for the average person? No, like, you want to be average. If that's your only goal, if that's what you want to do in life, then you don't need to study peak performance. But if it's actually something that you care about, achieving peak performance and working towards the highest level, right? Then yeah, then it's for you. And these philosophies and these things that we discuss are going to benefit you. Does that make sense? So the question goes back to, what are you optimizing for?
Sorry. And I think actually what I realized, it's actually a belief that has to be instilled within yourself. And I think it was a bit difficult within our own company in the beginning, but I think the number one principle of systemizing yourself, your business, your operations, is actually having the belief that this is the most important thing for me in my company. It's crucial for my growth. If I don't systemize, if I don't separate myself from the company, then I will be hustling to the end of time.
And here's the thing, we've taken on like clients that, like, you know, perhaps people influenced them, or perhaps they were pushed a little bit by people, not us, by the way, because we don't do, like, you know, forceful sales. Alhamdulillah, we kicked all the forceful sales guys off the team. Yeah, we don't do none of that stuff. But some guys, you see, they're like forced into peak performance or forced to become interested in it, you know, and they never really benefit from it. Because when you don't believe it's something you need, you're not going to take it very seriously, right? And to the complete difference, the guys that we see that they're like, Fawaz, this is what I need, right? They come in, they're like, this is exactly what I need. How they benefit from it is absolutely crazy. Right? They benefit so much more. So again, it's all about, like, you have to be aware first, right? Like, for example, if I give you painkillers, right, and I tell you this is really good for fixing pain, if you don't think you're going through any pain, like, you're not going to be quite motivated to take the painkillers in the first place. And even if you do, I mean, it's like you're taking it with sort of like a negative mindset already, right? That, like, I probably don't really need this. I'm already doing phenomenal, all right? So a lot of people are problem aware. You're not going to benefit unless you're problem aware.
Okay, so going back to the visionary and the operator again. So we kind of talked about how you have a vision and it's going to kind of pour into everyone, and naturally anyways. But why is it important to have these two distinctive roles, a specific visionary and a specific operator in every single company, organization?
I just want to clarify something. Being an operator isn't a bad thing. It's just different types of people. Allah created everyone in different ways, right? Being an operator is not bad whatsoever. In fact, I believe it's just as honorable as being a visionary, because both are needed, right? You can't do one without the other. So a visionary is the one who has this vision, but what is he without someone who can bring it to life? And what is an operator without a vision to bring to life? So I believe both are just as honorable as each other. It's not more so forcing yourself to be one, but rather understanding which one you are and teaming up with someone who is the opposite, all right? Too many entrepreneurs try to do it all, right? Dreaming big and handling the day-to-day things, but real leadership is knowing your role, right? The key differences between visionary and operator, right? A visionary is like more future focused. He's very like strategic, all right? And he has this big picture, this bigger picture, this bigger thing that he wants to work towards that might not even make sense to the bulk of people and might not even make total sense to the operator, but that's just how it is. Whereas the operator is more like, okay, yeah, but we need to get this done. Execute. It's like, stop dreaming for a second and let's actually get things done, right? Or how are we going to do that? They are focused on the details and they are process driven, right? So visionaries are all about outputs. This is the dream. This is the output I want. Operators understand the inputs and the processes that get to set output. So like I said, both are super, super important, right? But there's key concepts here. Number one, like we mentioned, cognitive overload. Mental exhaustion, right, is caused by too many decisions, right? Leads to reduced decision-making efficiency, which is why if you actually look at it, your ability to make good decisions at the start of the day from the end of the day is completely different, right? Like if you want to force someone into a decision, like just ask them at nighttime. I tell all the time, like if you want to like convince someone, throw someone in, right? Just talk to them at nighttime. They have less of the ability to make or, process good versus bad decisions. And which is why I have a rule, as you know, I don't make any key decisions at the end of the day, right? All the key decisions I make, I have to be fresh and it has to be a certain type of morning. And I don't even make like super groundbreaking decisions for the company if I'm on low sleep. I've had this rule since investing days when we used to, be heavily into the financial markets. I don't make decisions on low sleep because a lot of the times they're going to be poor decisions, right? Now, decision fatigue, like we mentioned, right? Which is the decline in decision quality after making too many choices throughout the day, like we mentioned. Then you have burnout, which is the result of constantly switching between a visionary and an operator, right? Leading to exhaustion and poor decision making. If you're always thinking of the vision and then you're always operating the vision, you become exhausted. You burn out, right? Which is why you need someone who's able to bring that vision to life.
Okay, so what are some signs that, for example, my visionary, he's not doing his role properly and his operator isn't doing his role properly within the company?
What are some signs?
Some signs to know it's like, okay, this is something that I need to actually optimize for. This is my biggest entropy.
Yeah, so like I said, it can all be done when you understand more of what both are. So like we said, like a visionary is someone who thinks like, what's next? Where do we want to be in the next 5-10 years? What are we working towards, right? Visionaries don't get bogged down like day to day. Like this is why it's a problem and why both are needed, because without the day to day, you can't get to those big goals, right? Those day to day tasks matter. But the visionaries are just so focused on like what this end outcome, right? Allowing them to focus on high level goals that, bring about future opportunities, right? Visionaries often feel compelled to manage every detail, right? But if they become too operational, that will start to dim down by the ability to actually focus on the bigger picture, which is dangerous, right? Whereas operators, they focus on executing the visionaries' plans by managing logistics, problem solvings, and, ensuring smooth operations. And this is what we've noticed in our company, right? So like, for example, if I have to switch to the operator role, like let's say, for example, there's issues and you need me now to come and like do more in terms of the operations, like we lose sight of where we're going, man, right? Because I'm the visionary in the company and you're the one who operates everything. You allow all the visions to come to life. But when I'm focusing heavily on that operator role, the company gets lost. No one knows what we're doing, what we're working towards, etc. Does that make sense? Or when I'm too focused on the vision, it's like, yeah, but like, how do we get there? Does that make sense? So like I mentioned, roles are super important, right? So they excel in terms of creating the systems, the processes, and the consistency to turn the visionaries' ideas into reality. All right. So Jeff Bezos, for example, is actually known to be very detail oriented and process driven, while his leadership team focuses on the bigger picture, the vision. All right. So the point is, talk about, like, for example, when it came to mind control, right? I had this big vision when it came to mind control. I knew exactly what I wanted to achieve with mind control, right? I had this vision of it being like a sick thing that changed lives, etc. But like, you're the one who allowed it to like facilitate this system to get to that goal, all right? In terms of, okay, we need this website, this, that, and the next, etc., etc., etc. Up until we, alhamdulillah, achieved the goals with the mind control, which then, threw us into this, right? Which was the next vision I had, which is, okay, I have this peak performance mastery, focus on the bigger. Does that make sense? So someone has to have the vision, and someone needs to come up with the systems that create that vision day to day, right? Now, by the way, you will have to sometimes like operate, like come together. Like you guys are going to have to be like, I don't talk to anyone on the team more than you, right? Because you more than anyone needs to understand what my vision is, right? I spend a lot of time explaining what I'm trying to build, etc., only to you. And then it's your job to, again, go help the rest of the team explain and understand, right?
I've found as well, right, that operators also have to have a sort of vision themselves. Because when I see themselves, it should be, somewhat within the same bounds as the visionary, right? Because if the operator doesn't have a vision, then also that kind of pours into the rest.
If you're dealing with an operator, and the operator needs to like understand and have a level of like vision as well to see that, yeah, we can bring this to life. You don't want an operator that's always questioning the visionaries' decisions. Like that's one thing that, we had to, again, like kick certain people off the team, certain smaller operators off the team, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, but I don't know, or like, is that possible? You don't want an operator like that as a visionary. He's going to kill your energy and that negative. This is why it's super important. Every visionary needs a positive thinking operator. The operator has to be positive thinking, right? And he has to have like a wide mind. Like he has to have like a variety mind, right? Where he thinks that is possible, or we can even inject it in this way. You don't want an operator that's like, yeah, but I don't know, it's never been done before. No. So both parties need to have a certain, understanding of each other.
So there's also like a critical thinking aspect to the operator, which is kind of what he does. It's the process part of it. A part of that we talked about, I think it was in the Vision podcast, is that we have inputs, we got the outputs. But a part of it was, okay, we've got this very big vision that we're trying to accomplish. For a lot of people, it's very difficult to be like how can I achieve that? So what the operator's role then would be is to kind of cut that into like bite-sized projects per se, or kind of sub goals and sub objectives, then building tasks, and then giving that to the team to kind of, okay, these are the tasks that you need to do. But you are the one that feeds that vision in the beginning, right?
100%. Yeah, like I said, like you have to look, because people don't understand like what does it look like when someone isn't, working the way they should, right? And this is going back to the question you asked me, right? Right. Despite having a strong vision or being great at executing tasks, you still might find yourself at a mediocre level where you're not, you're in this cycle where it's just averageness, right? It's not that you guys are doing bad as a company, but it's not fully embracing the potential, right? Which is what we're all about. Whether you're a visionary or operator, you still can fall into mediocrity for different reasons, right? Now, in terms of a visionary, his mediocrity comes when he has great ideas, but the lack of time or energy to actually implement them effectively, right? And this is important because even a visionary must have the time and energy, because it still takes, no one can understand the vision better than a visionary. So he still must have the time and energy, right? And so many times we've seen like great ideas are good, but sometimes small ideas are better. You have to have that full understanding of the long-term vision, but be able to break it into bite-sized pieces. Like I can never let go of the full vision to the team. They will look at me and laugh a lot of the times. Yeah, because it's ridiculous the size of what I want to build, right? And, you just have to have that understanding as a visionary to feed it to them in bite-sized pieces, right? Bite sizes that they can understand and do well with, right? And if you're overwhelmed by operational tasks, again, like we mentioned, you're going to see yourself stagnating in terms of the vision. When you're worried about the things that you're doing day to day, you're going to lack, right? The operator, excellent at managing day to day, but lacks the long-term vision. He still has to have a long-term vision, right? If you are leading to a stagnant, that's you leading a stagnant business with no growth. You're just going to create stagnancy because you don't understand where we're going, right? You can't get stuck in a day to day and you can't get stuck in a vision. It has to be somewhere in between. And this is why you have to bridge the gap between the inputs and the desired outputs, right? Every action needs to be understood. And when you go into companies, right, the question for me is always the same even in our company. Okay, how does this action feed towards our long-term goal? Does it not? If it doesn't, halas, stop, right? There's no point. Does it feed? There's things that may be good for now, for day-to-day, but they're horrible for the long-term of the company, right? So you have to break free. Visionaries need to trust others with execution, which is, by the way, it took me ages. And to a certain degree, I don't even know if I'm fully there yet in terms of trusting with day-to-day operational tasks, right? But you have to learn that that's the only way for the company to progress. You can't be in both worlds, in both realms. Someone has to be focused on growth, not fulfillment. right? And if you're focusing so much on fulfillment, who's going to be thinking about the growth? Does that make sense? Because what happens when we're done fulfilling? Make sense?
No.
Right? So this is why it's so important. Now, operators is, like I said, they need to take a step back from day to day. And that's why it's important that the visionaries and the operators have these frequent meetings with each other to make sure that both parties are aligned, right? I'm not selling you some crazy vision that we haven't even implemented the last one. So we need to be in touch with each other.
Okay, because one of the things you mentioned then is you found it a bit hard to kind of let go of some of these tasks. And I think the most common belief that leaders and entrepreneurs have is that no one can do it as good as me.
Sometimes it's true, but you just need to get better at hiring talent, man, because you're not the best at everything. So sometimes, yeah, like in your company, no one can do it better than you. That just means you need better talent or you need to train them more.
Okay.
And both are fine.
So you believe then in delegation and hiring and getting kind of the A players in the team?
A lot of the times, even if someone can do something 80% as good as me, I'm fine with that trade-off.
Okay.
Because like I said, I just like to focus on things that are more higher leverage, right? You have to understand, like, it all goes back when you really, really get to know, and it's just because these terms are not given to us in the entrepreneurial world. Things like cognitive load, burnout, we hear them, but we've never broken them down and understood them, right? You do only have a certain amount of things you can fit in your mind in a day. And look, it's not like business is the only thing you have. You're worried about your iman, right? You're worried about like your family.
And it's the same mind.
Yeah, it's the same mind, yeah. All right, so that's the thing that we have to take into account, that look, you know what, like wherever I can reduce entropy and distress or having to think or things that I shouldn't do, I will. And, you know, even if sometimes that means less money, that could be a better thing long term, right? And that's the gap we essentially need to fill.
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned that you still find it very difficult to give some of the tasks to certain people because they can't do it as good as you. Now, within the company, there's so many different aspects. There's marketing, there's sales, there's operations, there's finance, there's cash flow, there's da. Out of all of these different departments, what is then the highest leverage thing that you, cause like I can't bring in this 80% person. I just have to do these things and no one else can do it except for me.
I mean, that's going to be different company to company.
Okay.
I think with us, it's a personal brand. So obviously no one can record content for me. Yeah, it's funny because I'm the best at closing, to be honest with you, because no one understands the program as good as me, for example, right? I'm the best at scripting my own reels. But that's the point. It's because, well, I was, right, at the best at some of these things. But now it's like you start to understand like how to allow people to gain that same knowledge that you have. So it's about bringing them in, showing them the inside. I made them watch a lot of the sales calls, even the guys that write the scripts. I made them watch the whole program, study the whole program, understand it in much deeper basis, which allows them then to be able to understand what we're doing here. So I've noticed that one thing that could allow the operator and the team to be better is bringing them in and showing them a bit of insight of what you do day to day, right? By them seeing it, they start to understand the process more. And the more they understand, the better they become in their roles. Right? Even from like whatever, even an automation, right? The person still has to understand it. The more they understand it, the better they are, the more efficient the automations they can build is when they understand what's happening. So allow like education for your team as well. Something I've clocked that's super important. Everyone on the team should know your process.
Okay. I think, yeah, even the people that we mentioned aren't really visionaries. They're just operators at some level with they just do things. I still feel like it's better, right? If you're looking to hire someone, it's better that they are visionaries.
You can't have too many visionaries or too many operators.
Yeah, okay.
In fact, you probably need more operators than visionaries anyway. Too many visionaries is problematic, right?
But at the same time, right, there was advocates coming in from Season 1. At the same time, with some of the operators, it's like, I still need you to think. Why should I be the one to think for you?
That's just a bad operator then. That's a bad operator. Like, I shouldn't have to worry about that. He's just a bad operator.
So maybe I'm misunderstanding what an operator is. Does an operator have to be just a robot that you just give a process to and they just do? Or they can build their own processes?
No, they're meant to build their own processes. I just have the vision.
That's
right?
all.
Yeah, I just have the vision. I have an idea of what I want it to look like. You can imagine it's kind of like a skeleton, right? But it's your job to formulate it, make it actually work. It's like a picture, bringing a picture to real life. Like that takes work, right? So both are important. Both need to work in conjunction with each other. But like I said, like if you're finding heavy problems with your operator, he's just a dead operator. Just get another one. It's just so simple. Yeah. So yeah, man. I think the reason why this is so important is because it takes some self-awareness, man, to understand what you are. And that's genuinely some of the foundation of peak performance is genuinely being self-aware. The more you understand about yourself, who you are, what you're about, what areas you're lacking in, the more you can actually fix these problems, right? And this is why it's actually so important to audit yourself, right? Because that's how you understand if you're a visionary and operator and what you actually need. A lot of the times I've seen two companies have a lot of entropy between them. And I even had a conversation with, a brother who actually had a company, and he said, look, I'm constantly rubbing heads with my partner, constantly rubbing heads. Right? And I broke it down. I goes, okay, why? And essentially it's just two visionaries and the visions are different. You don't need two visionaries. You need a visionary and an operator, right? Does that make sense? So who's going to bring the vision to life, or are we just going to spend ages talking about the vision? So if you are constantly thinking about the future, new opportunities, growth, getting frustrated with the day-to-day stuff, etc., and you're really trying to focus on the bigger picture, then you should know you're a visionary, right? When it comes to brainstorming and, creating new concepts, you're energized, you're pumped, then you are a visionary. You need to know that about yourself, right? So you shouldn't be spending all the time in the day worrying about operations, right? Whereas an operator, if you're just excellent at managing systems, processes, ensuring things run smoothly, and you get satisfaction when you're ticking off things, right? And ensuring that there is consistency in all of the different areas of operation, right? Or getting frustrated by abstract ideas and you prefer like concrete actionable steps. Like when someone talks to you, it's like, okay, but how do we get there? If you're that type of person, then know that you are an operator, right? And if you are one, then find the opposite. You need the opposite. Every operator should work with a visionary. Every visionary should work with some operator. And this is super, super important.
Perfect. Then I think the first kind of step that you should do is understanding, okay, where are majority of your tasks, going to? If you still have a lot of operational tasks aligned with yourself and you're a visionary, right, a visionary leader in the company, then just slowly start to push that away to your operator, and your operator should be the one to start either doing it himself or delegating that accordingly. Inshallah, and that should free up more time that then you can focus on what is the highest leverage thing. So in order for you to understand what is truly the highest leverage thing, you must fully understand a 360 view of yourself.
And you know what it is, Mohammed, this is all about playing towards your strengths and weaknesses, by the way. Like, this is why it's important to audit yourself. Like, this is really what I wanted to actually put forward in this podcast, is the importance of actually understanding your power, your skills, your strengths, and your weaknesses as well. Because the problem is when people don't understand their strengths and when people don't understand their weaknesses, what happens? Right? Then they don't know where they're missing. They don't know why things aren't working. As a peak performer, you have to learn to play towards your strengths and play towards your what? Your weaknesses. Playing towards your strengths by becoming better at them. That's something naturally innate you're good at. Right? Yeah. This is something innate you're bad at. So although it'd be good to get better at that thing, it's way more high leverage to just get somebody who fits that role, who is that type of person, right? Yeah. So this is the importance of understanding yourself, being self-aware, auditing yourself, and that's just one step in peak performance.
No, and that's kind of what I wanted to mention. You should have this fully 360 view, kind of full 360 view of yourself in order for you to unlock that peak performance. It's a very tiny aspect of peak performance.
This is the why it's important to better understand yourself. Understanding yourself can better help you with you improving every aspect of your life, as well as your company increasing in revenue. So if you would like to learn how to get unstuck in life and business and to better understand the one who operates and controls the business, then click the link in the description and get signed up to the Peak Performance Mastery.